Hi, I'm Amy Hannon, and nothing thrills me more than people and food. I'm a preacher's wife, a mom of 3, and I own my own specialty kitchen store. I've kept an open door and a well-stocked fridge, which means I have fed a lot of mouths over the years. So welcome to my kitchen. This is Cooking Today. Hi there, I'm so glad you're with me today in the kitchen. This is Cooking Today, and we are gonna make homemade chicken stock. Don't be scared, we're gonna have to touch a real chicken. I did not touch a real whole raw chicken until I was 37 years old, y'all. It scared me, it was nubby, it felt like flesh, it kind of creeped me out a little bit, but I did it, and it has changed my life in the kitchen. So y'all are gonna have to be brave and go buy a real chicken, and you're gonna be super happy about this. Not only are we gonna make amazing, homemade, super fresh chicken stock, but the meat that comes off that chicken when you're done is to die for. It is more tender than anything you've ever had. I can save it and put it in chicken and dumplings, chicken soup, the best chicken enchilada recipe you've probably ever made in your life. I'm telling you, it's a good one. It's the #1 hit on my blog, unimaze.com. And we'll get to that here too one day because you're gonna love it. And so you also get that chicken, and then you get this rich, wonderful chicken stock that is just a great base to have for all kinds of things. I mean, think about all of the holiday cooking that you have to do and all of the big dinner party cooking and just your regular weeknight cooking that you have to start with chicken broth or chicken stock. It's delicious. It is so nice to have good, fresh chicken stock in your refrigerator, your freezer, just ready to go whenever. I have a fun little tip about how to store your homemade chicken stock for little bitty batches that you have to have if you don't need 3 or 4 cups at a time. So we got lots of good things to do today, lots of tips and instructions, and you're gonna be a better cook for it, and it's gonna be fun. You ready? So here's what we're gonna start with, the chicken. You need a 5-pound chicken. A little bit under, a little bit over is just fine, and you need a big, heavy pot. You can use a stock pot if you would like. I prefer these big, heavy Dutch ovens. You've seen me use these time and time again. These are Le Creuset, and they are workhorses. They hold heat, they heat well, they cook evenly, they stay warm forever and ever because they're just big, honkin' pans. And so we're about to put this big chicken in here. Okay, ready? We're gonna touch the chicken. It's a little creepy, but it's good stuff. So I have this 5-pound chicken. Ready? Ta-da! Don't you feel like you should have a little conversation with it because you feel like you can tell that it was like whole one time, like a person? I'm taking that chicken, I've rinsed it. I'm dropping it in the bottom of the pan. This is super duper important. Are you listening? You gotta look in the cavity or look on the packaging and make sure that there's not a baggie of giblets inside there. You don't wanna cook those. This one is actually a 5-pound chicken that did not have the giblets. I checked just in case because you don't want those. And you need to pull those out and throw them away or keep them if you are crazy about that stuff. I'm not. So this is what we've got. Piece of cake, ready? Chicken in the pot. And now that I've just touched it, I'm gonna need to rinse real quick because it's kind of gross. You gotta keep your hands clean. What we're gonna do to this is how easy chicken stock is. All we're gonna do is drop in some really good fresh stuff. Carrots, celery, onions, garlic, and sorry, can you see me? Did I leave the camera? Yeah, you did. I left the camera. That's all right, I'm back. Okay, so we're gonna add to this carrots and celery and garlic and all this good stuff, and then cover it in water for like 4 hours, and that's it. The first part of chicken stock is super hands-off, so y'all are gonna be so tickled about that. I'm gonna set this over here for just a minute, and we're just gonna start chopping our goods. So this is just a thing of celery, and you can do as much or as little of all this as you would like. It's really up to you. I like to do quite a bit of veg in here because, of course, it's just gonna make the stock taste a whole lot better. And this doesn't even have to be pretty. It just has to go in there. We're gonna discard it later, so it doesn't even matter what it looks like. Actually, I'm gonna take the lid off this, and we're just gonna set them down in here. So look, nothing fancy. Stalks of celery. I'm just gonna shove them down in the sides. I'm gonna break that one. That was professional. Look, I just broke it because it didn't fit. We're just gonna shove that down in there. I have some especially skinny carrots today. Usually I have, you know, the big thicker ones. These are some little organic pretty ones. Look how cute. Aren't those cute? So I'm going to use more carrots than I normally would just because these are little guys. Look, I didn't trim them. I didn't peel them. I didn't cut the tips off or anything because you just need the flavor and we're not going to eat them, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and do a couple more carrots because I love the sweetness that they give. Look, easy. And weren't you scared? Were you scared a little bit when I said homemade chicken stock? I told you didn't have to be. Okay, garlic. We're going to put in several cloves of garlic because it gives awesome flavor. Now remember, we're doing cloves, not a head. A head is the whole thing. Cloves are these little pods that come out of it. And I'm not even going to take them out of the paper. Did I shoot one? Yep, there it is. I'm just going to mash them just to get the flavor out in the paper. And remember I said, that one won't stop. It's the same one. It's the same one. It's a Rebel garlic. Okay, so we're going to just put these in there just like this because we're going to drain all of it, so it doesn't matter. Just going for the flavor. And then I'm going to drop in a couple of bay leaves, a little thyme right on top. We're going to salt and pepper it. And then when we come back, I'm going to show you what it looks like when we put it on the stove, and we're going to pull another one off and get ready to go. This is cooking today. Okay, we're back and we're making homemade chicken stock today. We have our chicken and all of our vegetables in our big heavy pot. I've salted it and added some beautiful tri-colored peppercorns. And all I'm going to do now is just fill this with water all over the top. And you want to go all the way up to the top of your pot. This is like a 5.5 quart Dutch oven because you want as much liquid in there as possible. I'm going to do this. That's better. And you want it to have room to bubble, but you don't want to have room for it to bubble over. So you just want to go about 1/2 inch. I'm going to talk and it's going to go over. Look at that. Okay, about 1/2 inch from the top. And so that's all there is to it. And we're just going to put this on the stove and give it a little bitty crack. Bring it to a boil. Oh my goodness, this is heavy. Ready? 1, 2, 3. We're going to move it to my big burner. This is when it would be super wonderful to have that pot filler. If you've ever kind of wondered when that would be functional, it's for this chicken stock right here so that you don't have to move that big old chicken and all those vegetables and all that water. You could also move this over to your stove and just bring a pitcher of water over there and fill it if you wanted, but of course I just do it from my sink. So we have our vegetables and our chicken. We have filled our pot all the way up with about 1/2 inch left, and then I'm going to look for my lid, and I'm going to not lid this until I see that it has started to boil, and we're just going to let this sit here. When it starts to boil, you want to cover it and just crack it a little bit so that it can breathe and it doesn't boil over, and just watch it. Turn it down to a simmer, not a crazy boil and not a low, low, low simmer, something a little bit more than a low simmer, if that makes sense. You don't want to boil chicken too high because it seizes up and it's not good. And then all that water will cook out and then we don't have any liquid and we don't want that. So just watch your simmer. We want a very enthusiastic simmer, if that makes sense. Okay? What I've already done is made one earlier. Now, when you take this lid off, it is not cute in here anymore. It was cute when it was fresh and the vegetables were green and everything looked really good and the water was all pretty. It's going to be murky, so don't be scared. But it is the best. Oh, can you see the color of that? It is chicken stock color. It's rich. It's golden. It smells like Thanksgiving. You know what Thanksgiving smells like? It smells like chicken stock because you've made this turkey. You've got gravy you've probably made with stock. You've got dressing you've probably made with stock. This smells like holidays. Delicious. Smells like good cooking. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. All right, so we got a chicken in here that we're gonna have to remove. I have these big forks. These came free with something I ordered online, but I'm sure you can find them somewhere else. They are super handy. Okay, we're gonna have to get this big chicken out. And so how I'm gonna do that is use my big forks. We always say our little prayer before we do something fancy like this, that it works. And I'm going to tip that a little bit because we've got that cavity and I do want all the stock out. So I'm tipping it so that the stock drains. Hello, little chicken. Okay. I always talk to the chickens. I just feel like they were people at one time. I feel like I need to visit with them just a little bit. It's weird. I know. Okay. I've discarded the rosemary and the thyme, and we're just going to let that rest. Okay? Chicken. And we're going to pull that. We're going to use it for actually a soup later, but you can also freeze that chicken pulled if you want. Okay, let me tell you about this real quick before I tell you about what to do with the chicken. This is a strainer, colander, and this is a big, huge batter bowl with a handle and a pour spout. This is really important, and this is really important. You've got to have a pitcher with a pour spout, a bowl with a pour spout when you're doing this. So we're going to stack these guys because we're going to drain all those vegetables that we dropped. I'm going to have to do this in my sink. Is that too bad? Is that sad? I'll show it to you as we get going. Because if you want to do this on your counter, it's probably going to splash and make a mess. So you want to kind of cover your bases here in the sink. Okay. Had a funny spot. Okay, we're going to drain this. Ready? 1, 2, 3. So the strainer is catching all the vegetables and the peppercorns and the garlic and all those little papers on the garlic and the stuff that we don't want. It smells so good. And it caught all that. And then what's underneath it is just the stock in our batter bowl with the handle and the pour spout, because we're going to want to pour this into jars, bowl jars or mason jars or whatever you've got. And then I'm just going to leave that there. You could eat those if you wanted. They're super tender, so they're flavorful and yummy. You could put them in a soup if you wanted or just nibble on them, but they've done their duty, and so I don't feel too bad dropping them out in the trash. Okay, we have beautiful chicken stock. And what you're going to do right here is just let this cool for just a little bit. Do you know what we've just done? We made homemade stock. Did you see that? We made the chicken. We set it on the stove. It cooked for like 4 hours. Piece of cake. You can add a little bit more liquid to it as it cooks down, but just let it go and let it do its thing. Let these vegetables release flavor, and we've got chicken stock, and it's beautiful. We'll jar these, and I'll show you a couple tricks when we get back. This is Cooking Today. Hi, I'm Amy Hannon. Watch Monday to Friday, and I'll share stories, cooking tips, and recipes that'll feed everyone from your family to a big old crowd. Cooking Today, weekdays, right here on KNWA. If you're just joining us, we're making homemade chicken stock. It is the best stuff ever. It's so good for you, and it's fresh. All we've done, so little hands-on time, boiled a chicken with all kinds of good vegetables, carrots and celery and onions and garlic. We've added rosemary and thyme. Actually, we just added thyme, but you can always add rosemary. I usually do. Just adds more flavor, salt and peppercorns, and that's it. And we just let it cook for about 4 hours, and it simmers, and this beautiful gold chicken stock is what comes out of that. And we also have a chicken that we're going to pull too. So what we want to do, we've put this into this bowl. Remember how important I said that it was to have a bowl with a handle and a pour spout? Well, this is why, because you're going to need to pour this in some storage containers. And all I have here are freezer safe ball jars. Not every glass jar is freezer safe, so you need to be sure to check that when you're buying them. And this, what you can usually tell, it'll say it on the package, but what you can tell here is there's a little line right here that actually says fill to this line for freezing, because you know as well as I do that the liquid will expand and it'll fill this up, and you don't want that to happen. It needs to have some head space on it. So these freezer jars have an actual mark on them. And we also have an ice cube tray. What's really, really great about this is that you can actually freeze the ice cubes, because you don't always need 3 cups of chicken stock. Sometimes you just need a little bit to flavor your base, you know, your gravies and your sauces and things like that, and you might only need 2 or 3 tablespoons of it or a quarter of a cup or so. And that's why you can actually freeze chicken stock ice cubes and put them in a Ziploc in your freezer. And so we are just gonna pour this. I'm gonna do it over my sink because we may dribble. I'm gonna fill this up to the line. I'm gonna just do it a little bit short of the line. And then we're gonna fill this one. These are really big jars. You don't have to have jars this size. You can kind of get whatever that you need. Okay, this may be a mess, but we're gonna go for it. Here are our ice cubes. Ready? I bet we're gonna splash a little. And we're just gonna fill these and freeze them and then pop them out. You don't even have to put them in a Ziploc. You could leave them in this tray and just pop them out just like you do when you need it. Look how good that is. And I'm gonna finish these off. And what you're gonna start to see in the top is the fat kind of rises to the top. You can kind of see it's a little bit oily on the top of there. Once this cools, that will actually form a little bit of like a fat cap, and you can just pop it right off. I mean, it just separates right off the top of there when it's cold. Okay, so we've got these two beautiful jars of chicken stock. This is probably, I don't know, probably 4, 5, 6 cups, somewhere in there. And what is super important is that you let this cool completely uncovered at room temperature before you put it in the fridge and the freezer. There's a whole big long thing about bacteria and all of that we aren't going to go into. But you want these to be completely room temperature before you put them in the fridge and you put the lids on them. These could actually go straight into the freezer. But we're going to set those there for just a minute. Then we also have this beautiful chicken that the meat on this has just simmered in all of that good flavor, and the salt that's in there has made it super tender. And all you have to do is just go to town on it and just pick the meat off. It is super tender. I always have my husband do this for me, so he's actually better at it than I am. I'm usually canning my chicken stock, so I put him to work doing this. You can have your kids do it too. And we're just pulling any of the meat off that we can and putting it in a bowl. I actually use this chicken for tons of things. We don't generally get past this for me to save it because we like to eat around here, so there's rarely anything we have left to store. But I love to use this for white chicken chili. It makes the best chicken enchiladas. Chicken and dumplings, we really, really love. All kinds of great stuff. We love soups, and so we do lots of chicken soups around here. But you can just take this meat. Look at that. I mean, it is so tender. Do you see? I mean, the bones, y'all, are just coming right out. And so you can pick all the gross parts out. You don't want those. But I mean, look, even with just my fingers, do you see how that whole entire chicken is just completely coming apart? That's just that low, slow simmer. And it smells delicious. I'm gonna take a bite because I always do. Just find the parts you want and pick it and save it. It is so good. I'm actually about to make white chicken chili with this. It's delicious. Y'all are gonna love that recipe. So just do this. Be sure to flip the chicken over. It's kind of hard to flip it because of the way that this is completely falling apart, but you don't want to miss any parts. So anyway, you can continue to pull all this chicken. I'm gonna do that here in just a minute. We're gonna flip, oh my gosh, look, I just picked that chicken leg up and every single bit of it fell off. It is delicious. Y'all need to try this. When we come back, I'm gonna share a couple more tips with you and some ideas for the recipes, and we're gonna answer a couple of viewer questions. This is Cooking Today. Hi, I'm Amy Hannon. Watch Monday to Friday, and I'll share stories, cooking tips, and recipes that'll feed everyone from your family to a big old crowd. Cooking Today, weekdays, right here on KNWA. Thanks for joining me today. We've made homemade chicken stock. It has cooled in our jars. I've put lids on it, and we've gotten it into the refrigerator. It's gonna be ready for white chicken chili that we're making next. It's gonna be so delicious. And I don't know if you know, but I actually have an Instagram account, Unamaze on Instagram. And I love your questions and I love to interact with everybody there. I feel like it's a really great community. And I have a couple of reader questions actually about chicken and chicken stock. And we actually had a couple of questions that we tried to answer through the show from the Junk Ranch and Kate Frost Walker and Sophie LeBlanc, asked questions about the different recipes and ways that we store the chicken and all of that. So we hope that you have learned those things today while we were cooking. And Jamie Hobla actually said, what is your favorite way to defrost a whole chicken? Can you just throw it into the water frozen? I actually don't throw it into the water frozen. I do like to cook it from thawed. And so I just let it thaw in the refrigerator for about 2 days until it's good. And then it just goes right into the water and cooks a whole lot quicker and a little more evenly. It's a little safer, a little better to just do it that way. So just buy it frozen, thaw it in the refrigerator, and you are good to go. I really hope that y'all will make this chicken stock from home and serve it to your people and have it in storage ready to go to make all your recipes and your sauces and your soups really, really good. I'm telling you, it makes all the difference. It's rich and delicious and fresh and pretty. You're gonna love it, and they're gonna love it, and they're gonna eat every bite of it. This is Cooking Today.
Groceries provided by Harps, Hometown Fresh. Iced tea brought to you by Lipton. Kitchenware is provided by Unamaze.